Don't hit any of the cameras.
Thanks, Lorraine.
Check. 1, 2, 3.
Lorraine, thank you. Lorraine, thank you.
Greg says thank you.
Hello, I can hear myself.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me through those headphones?
I can.
Headphones.
You sound like
How many times can I say beep? This whole thing. You're going to keep it. It's going to be beep, beep.
I'm going to beep
That's
you.
the entire intro.
The
I've said 7 times.
You said what?
7 times. I whispered it like 7 times.
What did you say?
Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Take time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
All right, welcome to the Greg and Tim Show. I am Greg,
No, you're not.
And this is my buddy Tim, otherwise known as Evan S.
You need help.
How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well.
For those people who have not had a chance to review the last few episodes and don't know who we are, I am actually not Greg. I'm Tim. Little humor to start the show. I apologize to anyone out there
who is humorless.
That does not know humor.
Anybody that's humorless, we apologize to you.
But they're happy. They're happy. They
humorless people suck.
They suck.
People that have no humor suck.
They suck.
That's the bottom line.
Like,
because Stone Cold said so.
Okay, we're referencing 90s wrestlers now.
2000s.
Well, no, Stone Cold started in the 90s, didn't he?
Yeah, but he was a 2000s wrestler.
All right, fine.
And that's the bottom line.
I never liked Stone Cold.
Why not?
I don't know. He's like something about drinking beer. And
you like Kurt Angle?
Smashing the beers and going around being a bad influence on people. Like, if your 18-year-old kid acted like Stone Cold Steve Austin, you wouldn't
have I shared that video of you or the guy? He has 2 beer bottles, and he's like, "No, don't do it!" And he's like at the edge of a pool. He's like, and it's a kid that has some learning disabilities, but he looks like he was a good time, and he has 2 beer bottles, and he goes,
but
all over the place.
We don't have time for your childhood. It's
my childhood.
I thought you were talking about yourself, maybe.
Yeah.
When you say like a friend of mine.
It was me.
It was you.
It was just me. It was me all along.
It was just 4 years where you don't remember too much.
There's a lot of years. I don't remember too much right now. Most of them are the last 2 with you.
Yeah, no, you remember them very well.
Yeah.
You're trying to black them out, but unfortunately.
Actually, funny enough, a picture popped up we have those Google Homes here.
Yeah.
On the screen, and a picture popped up of me and you playing catch at Field of Dreams.
Yeah.
And I said to Lorraine, I'm like, Lorraine, that was one of my favorite trips of all time. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't like something amazingly crazy.
Yeah.
But it was probably one of my favorite trips of all time.
Yeah, me too. And now that you brought that up, you know what I was thinking of? When you started saying the time we played catch. Remember the first time we ever played catch in the backfield, the back here in the house?
Yeah.
And there was no play structure?
Yeah.
How many years ago was that?
That would have been 2020.
Right. It was like right when the thing that we don't talk about started, right?
Yeah. Because we did that, and then 2020 in September is when the play structure got built.
Yeah.
And I've only known you since 2020.
That when you said throwing the ball and then you continue, that was what popped.
That was the first thing that popped into your brain?
Yeah.
We should go back to the best of Greg and Tim and talk about your swearing at Sandberg.
And I didn't swear then either.
Well, if we went back to it, it would be you swearing at Sandberg.
Yeah, well, whatever people want to think, it's fine.
Exactly, it's whatever people want to think.
Yeah, I've never sworn in this podcast, by the way.
You have.
It's just.
Okay. I unbleeped the beginning now. You've never sworn on the podcast.
On something.
Are you lying?
In the podcast, I don't know.
I'm keeping it in.
Okay, then I have.
This will be the one episode. This will be the one episode where we put it as explicit.
Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Have you ever sworn on the podcast?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway,
truth serum.
The truth. The problem is you don't have edit, so you don't have editorial.
That's why
control.
I said yes. That's why I said yes. I wasn't saying have you ever sworn. Yes, in general. Sure.
On the podcast.
Do I ever? Okay. Do I swear when I'm watching the Jet game? Yes. Did I swear last night during the Jet game? Yes. Did we win? Yes. Did I still swear?
Yes. So let's just say that you won't get a award for the least amount of swears in an evening watching a Jets game.
The world, I'm sure that some people swear less than I do. I'm sure some people don't even swear.
I didn't swear during the Jets game.
And we've had this conversation.
I said frick, though.
Okay. All right.
I did.
I didn't.
You didn't say frick?
I'm just saying I did. Yes,
Hey, better question.
I never said frick. Apparently guys try too, but just not me. I've never used it.
So,
what if you forgot to come back to it?
What's the first thing on our list today?
Well, we want to talk sports, right? You want to talk Jets?
Oh,
you want to talk about playoff basketball. That's all we talk about in our chat, right?
That's not
Timberwolves.
Do we ever talk about playoff
beating
basketball?
my Lakers? No, because you're a white Canadian, so you have no interest in basketball.
That's racist.
Is it?
No. I watch hockey.
There are 5 people.
Hockey.
There are 5 young guys. Tristan's one of them, and he has like 3 or 4.
He's speaking at Springs Youth now.
Yeah, that's right. Very well. He did a very good job, apparently, on the last time.
You don't know? You didn't watch?
No, my wife Tammy played it, the clip of it. It sounded really good.
Okay.
But anyway, so there's
but you didn't
him,
go.
and there's like 4 other guys at church who are really big into basketball. And if I want to talk basketball, I talk to those guys. And nobody else in my friends.
Do those guys watch the podcast?
I don't think so.
Okay, well then, what's the point?
I don't think so. Yeah. What's the point of what?
Talking about basketball.
I just like to bring it up because you'll be like, I have no idea. You wouldn't even know who's playing.
Yeah, the Timberwolves played the Lakers and they won 4-1 in the series.
That's it. Because it's right there on the screen. 103-96.
Yeah.
I like both teams.
You liked the Lakers?
Yeah. And
was Bronny playing for the Lakers?
Bronny hasn't played since the first week of the season.
Really?
Yeah, he went down to the G. He's done well in like the G League or something.
Has he?
Yeah.
What is the G League? What does G stand for in the G League?
League?
No.
Isn't it?
What does the G stand for in G League?
No, you have that. I'm going to ask you to look up a couple of things during the episode, but
perfect.
what
does G League stand for?
Developmental League. Well, yeah, because G does stand for.
Because no, it used to be called the D League, and then Gatorade sponsored it, and now it's called the G League.
That's kind of cool. That's kind of funny. I wouldn't know that. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, would you have known that before?
No.
Do you think Tristan knows?
I'm gonna say no.
No. Who would know why it's called the G League?
That's interesting. I learned something today. That's it. Well, thanks for showing up to the podcast. We want to thank our guest, Tara Maslowski, who couldn't make it.
Tara.
And have a great week, Greg.
Tara was booked for this week. I had her.
So I've heard.
She signed a contract.
So I've heard, yeah.
We were going to do a sing-off.
And then I heard she was scared off by the sing-off. She heard me sing at church.
That's right.
She watched an online morning
service
at church where I led a song, and she was scared off and didn't want to come because she was worried she would lose. That's what I heard. I this is not definitive, but this is just a rumor I've heard. So, yeah.
I think we're still going to have Tara on, though.
Right. But maybe not.
But maybe not. That ship may have sailed.
She's scared. That's all I heard.
You scared her.
Yeah.
You scared her and her little dog, too. Toto? I think her dog's name is Toto. So what did you want to do? What's the topic that you wanted to start with?
You told me what the topics were yesterday. But anyway,
I said the Jets.
Listen, okay. Let's talk a little bit about...
Here's the problem with talking about the Jets today.
We don't talk about where the series is at. Because we're filming now the day after the Jets won Game 6.
Braden Shen have been suspended today.
And the Jets won that game, played a great game, Game 5. Again, this is going to be aired and great. The series.
The series is over. Yeah.
As we speak.
The series is over, and they could be moving on right now to the golf course or to the next round.
But Game 5, you have a hit by Braden Shen.
Yep.
On Mark Scheifele, the captain, the best player.
Where he leaves his feet.
So I want you to play 2 videos, okay? I want you to play the video first of the Shen hit on Mark Scheifele.
Okay.
Okay, I want people out there to take a look at it.
On Mark Scheifele, and Scheifele doesn't have the puck. I would assume this is going to be interference. The puck's up in the air, and Braden Schenn takes him out of the play.
So
he jumps.
Okay, that's good. So what happened in this game, if you weren't watching, is Mark Scheifele, after that hit, played about 5 or 6 more minutes.
Yeah.
He was hit again by Faxa of the Blues.
Faxa, yeah.
And it sounds like a swear, but and then he exits.
Mm-hmm.
And so after the game, they interviewed the coaches, and Montgomery, the head coach for the Blues, made it a point to say
he left after the Faxa hit.
He said he did not leave. He was not injured by the first hit, which was Schenn. He was actually injured by this injury, whatever caused him to leave the game. That specific injury was caused by the second hit, which is the Faxa hit. And then Arniel responds to that and says he has no idea what he's talking about, which he doesn't, of course.
Well, no, he said, I wonder when Monty got his
medical degree. Right? And so why does Montgomery say this is because he's guarding against any possible scenario of a suspension on
against
Schenn, because he can now say, listen, that hit did not cause Mark Scheifele, no cause and effect, to miss, and now he's going to miss Game 6. I think he's going to miss Game 7 too. I think he's going through concussion protocol. Now, I want you to go play a second clip.
Oh, okay.
2021, Mark Scheifele is in Game 1, where there's no fans. You take a look outside. This was the season where we played hockey in each other's rinks in the playoffs, but there were no fans. And Evans, for the Canes, is reaching back with a minute left. 4-3 is the score. And Mark Scheifele, that's the hit Mark Scheifele does.
Yeah.
And I want to, and this was, Scheifele was.
Now watch Scheifele. Yeah. He doesn't make another move. And doesn't leave his feet until after he hits them.
Yeah.
And
so Evans stays down. He's injured. And Mark Scheifele gets a 5-game suspension. My question is...
Was that the suspension?
5 games for Mark Scheifele, and Schenn, from what I understand, they're not even considering a suspension. And I want to know why. And I get it. Every fan base is biased, and they complain. Winnipeg hit more times than St. Louis yesterday. They had more hits on them. And so we're just complaining and whiners in Winnipeg. I get it. That's what people say. 4 games, sorry. He got 4
games, yeah.
But
which was the rest of the series.
Right. So my question is, if Mark Scheifele stays down after that hit and he goes off immediately and he's out, does Schenn then get suspended? Is it because that player that was injured immediately was injured? Mm-hmm. Is it this whole thing where he came back? So is the lesson we should just stay down and maybe the player gets suspended?
Yep.
Is that the lesson I'm hearing?
And remember the Velarde skating with the puck near the beginning of the game there, and Sundqvist was behind him, and Velarde's like trying to get his arm free.
Yeah.
And then his elbow comes up as he's trying to get his arm free, and Sundqvist like falls down like a pile of bricks just falling apart. And then they call a penalty on Velarde, and then the ref's like, no, you're going to. Sundqvist also went for embellishment.
And again,
so
like I said, you ask the St. Louis fans, Jets are dirty. You ask the Winnipeg fans, St. Louis is dirty. Everyone's hitting, everyone's clutching and grabbing. I understand that. And talking about the Scheifele hit that was suspended for the 4-game suspension, he does skate from the blue line. People are going to argue, well, he targeted him from the blue line. No, he's chasing him to get the puck in a 4-3 game with a minute left. That's why he's skating in.
To stop him from scoring a goal and open net.
From scoring that goal and making it a 5-3 game. He's not gliding in there to hit him. We're only talking about the end. And I suggest there isn't much difference in those 2 hits. And I for one, have no idea. I want someone out there to explain to me why one gets a 5 and one gets... They're not even talking about it. He wasn't even called for a hearing.
No.
What is and the other thing is nobody's talking about these comparables. And if you bring it up,
I haven't
heard.
Sportsnet is.
Who is are they comparing the Scheifele hit on Evans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sportsnet is, but the NHL isn't.
Why? I
don't know.
And Montgomery thought the same thing, because why else would he not have made it a point to say that he's politicizing the whole thing afterwards? That's all he's doing. He's trying to remove the blame from the and what did we say about Evans on the Scheifele hit? What did we say? He needs to keep his head up.
Yep.
He needs to be aware of his surroundings. What are they?
Because he had the puck.
What are the people? Yeah, he had. That's the other thing. He had the puck. What are people saying about Scheifele about last night? He needs to have his head up. He needs to be aware of his surroundings. The same things were
But he
said
had no
during
puck.
goals.
Scheifele didn't have the puck.
Yeah. So as Jet fans, we were saying those arguments, and now everybody else is saying the same arguments for Mark Scheifele.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. I don't get it.
Aaron Ekblad got a player safety hearing though.
Because Hagel was out.
2 games. He had 2 games for it.
So as long as somebody doesn't get seriously injured, we're okay to use those hits. We're okay.
Well, if Scheifele left the game at that moment because of that hit, it may have been looked at.
Okay. So
but now they're thinking, oh, that hit didn't cause him to leave the game.
So back to my original premise. Just stay down. Hockey players, if you get hit really, really hard up high and he leaves his feet, just stay down. Don't get up.
Yep.
Then they'll be suspended.
Plus, it's George Peros.
Peros was remember his mustache when he played? Big mustache and
Duster, they call it.
He was a bit of an enforcer. He was not a very skilled player.
No, I don't even know if he knew how to skate.
Yeah, him and Shanahan, 2 guys that it's funny that they've been involved in these whole things because they were guys who were kind of dirty.
Well, it was Shanahan, it was Peros, Chris King. Yeah. Chris King was one of the Department of Player Safety.
All the brutes.
One of the other Jets.
Shanahan had skill, but
there was another Jet that was the player safety.
Kite?
No, it was another fighter though.
Stefan
Quintel. Yeah.
He wasn't a brute. He was.
I
don't think he was that much. He wasn't known for it. He was a good, decent defenseman.
What?
Quintel was a decent defenseman.
He was a fighter.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell you.
I did not remember him as a fighter. Well, that's the truth. And that's the bottom line.
Because Tim Sandman Painting said so. He's 56 years old.
He hasn't played for a while. You say that like it's like you say 56. Like
this is a different Stefan Quintel.
That's the Stefan Quintel that used to play for the Jets.
Really?
Yes.
In 03-04. So 21 years ago, he was 35. That's right.
Didn't do the math quite quickly. Not there.
Look at his penalty minutes. No, look at the penalty minutes. He goes from when he was with the Bruins, like 29, 22, all of a sudden 100, 119, 117, 100, 97. He had a lot of penalty minutes. And when he played for the Jets, 119 penalty minutes minus 25. He was a good defenseman. He was a great defenseman. He was still a good defenseman. He was an overall minus 89 for his career. Yeah, he was a great defenseman.
Yeah, he played for Chicago. Wasn't very good in those years. The Rangers. He played for a bunch of not so great teams.
He was minus 25 with the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets weren't very good back then.
The 1979 Jets.
1979 Jets?
In 94, 95.
Okay.
Well, that's how they represent it so they know. Because Phoenix is gone.
Right.
So they don't have a team.
Yeah.
So did you know that Utah is technically an expansion team?
Because why again?
They didn't take any records from Phoenix.
Oh.
Phoenix kept all of their records. So Utah is starting with 0 records. So the amount of goals topped by their top goal scorer today,
right?
That's their top goal scorer of all time for Utah.
Okay.
Because they took 0 Phoenix records. Phoenix still has the Jets records though. So if the Coyotes come back or any team comes back in Phoenix, they're going to keep the Winnipeg Jets 1979 records.
Yeah.
And all the jerseys that they retired.
I guess so, yeah.
Do you remember when they retired? They put a Howard Chuck jersey, I think.
Yes.
In the like Howard Chuck never played for the Coyotes. Why would you put up a? It doesn't matter.
If you play for Hartford, you can claim that as Carolina. That's theirs, and sometimes they'll use the Whalers retro jerseys when Carolina plays.
But I think it's the same owner. I think when he moved from Hartford to Carolina, it was the same owner. Whereas when they moved from Winnipeg to Phoenix, it's a whole different ownership.
Well, you can change ownership even within a city.
Well, yeah, Phoenix did like 5 times.
Yeah, so last episode, and this is hockey related. But
Yeah.
hockey
related revenue, HRR. Remember that term?
Yeah.
During the lockout, we got to talk about HRR.
Not HR. HRR.
HRR. Hockey related revenue.
My wife messaged me watching the last episode
because she wanted to get an Aura ring.
She's like, you talking a lot of sports, so I feel she's listening right now and saying, maybe move on. Because you want to talk about the election.
No, I want to talk about the Aura ring real quick. Did you get one?
No.
Are you going to get one?
So we're going to get one for my wife, and then we found out that, which we knew already, what ticks people off about the Aura ring is you have to pay $8 a month membership. Mm-hmm. So let's say you bought it, and they were on sale. They're not anymore.
They're not?
No, the sale's gone if you go online.
Okay.
You have to pay $8 a month, which is, I mean, $8 a month doesn't sound like a lot, but when you multiply it by 12 times, that's $96 a year. A year. If you have it 3 years, you're doubling the price of what you just paid when they were on sale.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
I got mine back when there wasn't a membership fee.
And if you get the same, if you're able to find that Generation 2 online, like Kijiji or whatever, a Facebook Marketplace, it also comes with that too. But there's just not a lot of them.
I have a Generation 2.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You have a second one?
So my Generation 2, the battery life didn't last very long.
Okay.
So they sent me a 3 for free.
Oh.
And then they're like, oh, and you're a lifetime member because you had a Gen 2.
So you have a 3 and a 2?
Yeah.
And they both have lifetime memberships?
Well, I don't know how the 2 works, but I'm assuming it does.
Right. So you're actually not wearing a 2, you're wearing a 3.
That's right.
Okay.
But no membership fee.
Okay. There you go.
I can show you afterwards. Lifetime member.
Right. We'll negotiate.
For the 2?
We'll see if it fits.
The 2? I just have it in the drawer over there.
Yeah, we'll see.
I have the charger and everything.
We'll see if the ring fits.
If the ring,
if it's meant to be,
my precious,
it's meant to be.
My precious.
The music goes and whatever it is. I don't know.
What like the shoe off
terrible.
of
that was horrible.
Cinderella shoe?
The Cinderella shoe. It's the Aura ring.
Oh man! So you said you wanted to talk Canadian election.
You said you wanted to talk about Jets and the election. I said I want to talk about disc, and I wanted to talk about what if separation would have happened 30 years ago.
Yeah, let's talk about the election real quick, and then we'll talk about the separation thing. Disc will have to leave for the Tara Maslowski episode.
We're singing competitions and disc.
That's what we're going to talk to her about.
We'll do the whole thing.
Federal election. Go.
What, Monday night? We're recording on a Thursday. It happened 3 days ago.
Yep.
It appears that the polls were, in the end, correct. What do you think of that?
So, did you hear what happened with Poilievre's riding?
Okay, here I have some people that are telling me about these things, and you can.
I don't know.
You can explain it to me.
Okay.
I hear online from people on the right side that this was rigged by the Liberals.
Okay,
and
so
then you hear Liberals saying that's BS. I don't know what to believe.
So 2 things about Poilievre's riding.
Yeah.
1, there's a group that always puts 1 riding or 2 ridings with like 100 people on it.
Yeah.
So Poilievre's riding had 91 people on the ballot.
Yeah.
The ballot was like gigantic.
Okay.
2, did you hear what they did with his riding itself?
Okay, yeah, they increased the area in which
they expanded it.
Encompassed.
That's right. So the riding that used to be a Liberal riding.
Who's we, by the way? When you say they increased the area.
The federal government.
The Liberal government.
Yes.
Increased. They have the power to change manipulate whatever areas.
Yeah, because they have the votes to do it.
Just arbitrarily.
Not arbitrarily. They're going to do it based on population. They're rejigging the areas.
Well, to me, that means arbitrarily. Because it looks like what you're suggesting is in order to get Pierre Poilievre out of, and they weren't going to win the election anyway, but this is to stop
him from being in
Poilievre
a seat.
and making sure somebody else is.
So Poilievre technically can't speak.
Because he doesn't have a seat.
That's right.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a seat at the table. His seat at the table has been removed.
Right.
So that's 2 things that happened.
Yeah.
1, the giant ballot.
Yeah.
2, the space that has always been Liberal got added to Poilievre's riding.
Right.
And then all of a sudden he loses.
Right. Pull up the chart of what the seats were in Quebec and Ontario. You're wrong at the wrong province. It's if you take a look at the actual seats.
Which province should I be? I know, but which province should I be yelling at?
Quebec. If you take a look
Well,
at
yeah.
the vast majority of seats where the Conservatives did not hold, the Conservative government, the Conservative Party actually picked up some seats in Toronto that they haven't had before. They actually increased what they had from the previous election. The people in Quebec, that's where you see the seats dwindle, and the Liberals for the most part, and then the Bloc took.
So the Bloc got less seats than last.
They got less seats, but when you combine
NDP
the two,
got less seats.
When you talk about how many seats the Conservatives were able to get, Quebec is, and if you're coming from a Conservative standpoint, Quebec is the province that screwed you over. If you're talking from a Conservative.
So this is how I look at it, though.
Yeah.
The Conservatives grew in seats.
Yeah.
But because the NDP and Bloc lost votes,
yeah.
they lost them to the Liberals.
Yeah, left will vote left. They're not.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
they actually the left actually the NDP. What I was hearing from NDP, there didn't seem to be NDP voters. There just seemed to be people who wanted to vote opposite of the Conservatives. So NDP people, this is what I heard online, is like, let's all vote Liberal.
Yeah.
We're crashing and burning, so let's vote Liberal. They didn't see any difference. There was no party. There did not seem to be any anything from an NDP voter to prioritize their party. It just seemed to be whichever party is conceivably going to represent a vote against the Conservatives, that's what they were going to vote. And kudos to them. If you're trying to unite one side, that's what you should do. We talk about uniting the right too, so why not unite the left against your common enemy if you're talking from a red standpoint? Why not? I mean, it's sports and politics, right? If you can injure the other guy and not get suspended, why not? Why not the same? It's a dirty business. Why not play dirty?
Yeah, and some of these areas, like this one was really close. Almost won by the Bloc. This one was really close. They lost by 15,000. So not really close.
Quebec.
This one was really close. Almost won by the Bloc.
And you remember it was one when we went to bed, or before we went to bed.
So this Carleton one, this is the one that's different here.
Right, it was increased.
So this area, so this in the middle, which is Canada, used to have another section over here that was Canada something, Carleton Canada or something.
Right.
And then Carleton now wraps all the way around there.
Right.
And Poilievre lost by 5,000 votes. And when you look at it, I think if you looked at like the previous election, that area was like 20,000 votes for the Liberals before.
Right. So, but looking at this chart that we're looking at on your TV here,
look at all those independents.
There's lots of them, but they represent a very small percentage of the vote. I'm going to disagree with the first point, but yes, the second point.
No, they said
look
that.
Look at this. 1.4 is the highest.
No,
sorry. 0.1 is the highest. I know. Any of those.
They said that when they do this, it doesn't really affect it as much.
Yeah.
But what we don't know, like visually, in terms of votes, but we don't know how many ballots were spoiled.
There's always a percentage.
Right? And the percentage of spoiled ballots goes higher when there's a higher chance of spoiled ballots.
Speaking of which, we didn't talk about your buddy, your boy, getting elected as the leader of the PC party.
My buddy, my boy?
Yeah. Remember he's going to pick up your ballots? That happened 2 days before. I almost forgot. It seems like forever ago. It wasn't even a week ago.
And there's already attack ads against him.
Yeah, and our friend Jasmine made.
Jasmine.
Did you watch the video?
Yeah. So, which is really weird. It's interesting.
You're not even 2 years before an election. There's attack ads.
I know, against Abhi.
So Abhi Khan, and did you see the results? He won by 35 votes and 300. And this is what I thought. This is why you don't like.
He only won by.
You don't like my hand in your screen.
He only won by 35 votes.
He won by 35 votes, and
really.
And what made me remember what you said is a spoiled ballots. There were over 300 spoiled ballots.
Wow.
And he won by 35 votes. Yeah.
He would have been so mad at me. So I texted him. I'm sorry, Abhi. I texted him on the Thursday, I think.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I have my ballot here. If you can come pick it up or have one of your guys come pick it up.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, if I had a DeLorean, I'd pick it up because they were due yesterday. But yeah, I felt really bad because I had my ballot filled out and everything. But
you didn't actually vote? You never actually voted, and you probably had your wife's there too. And you neither got...
But here's the thing. You needed your driver's license photocopied.
I did. We did everything. Actually, my wife did everything for both of us.
Did you have a photocopied of your driver's license?
And we didn't vote
Or
for
were
the same
you
person.
Or were you one of the spoiled ballots?
No. I don't think so. We did.
Did you provide a driver's license?
Oh, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, my wife went through all the instructions. She's the instruction person. I'll forget that if it's up to me.
Yeah.
Most times I won't. But
I wonder
if there's someone to forget it, it would be me.
I wonder how many spoiled ballots there were because of not having a driver's license.
I'm guessing that's probably the biggest.
300.
Yeah, over 300. Anyway. Yeah.
So Abby wasn't happy with me. I apologize, Abby.
But I was
I was gonna vote for Mark Carney. I learned that I could trust a Carney.
I heard
elbows up. Elbows
half
Tim,
up. He won a minority. Elbows half
no,
up.
the other elbow has to go up. That one, yeah. And we're supposed to. Did you watch the election where they're like showing people in the liberal celebration area, and they're taking pictures of each other with their elbows to each other?
No, it's because they don't want to get COVID. Remember, like the
elbow bump during COVID. You can't say that word.
No, we are allowed to now.
Oh, we're allowed to say COVID?
You can't say negative things about it. You can't say it was a hoax or something.
No, there you go.
I'm just saying you can't say that.
You can't say that on television.
It was real. COVID is
I
real.
wish I had slime. Remember that show? Remember that show? I can't believe you said that on television. Or you can't say that on television. What was it called? What was that show called?
I don't remember.
I think it was called You Can't Say That on Television.
Oh, yes, it was. That's right.
It was on YTV, right? Yeah, You Can't Say That on Television.
Okay.
With the slime.
79.
And remember that guy's face?
1979.
The guy, the thing, that guy.
So let's talk a little bit about post-federal election.
Yeah, and the Albertans.
All blue, like it usually is. Saskatchewan and Alberta, all blue.
Were they?
And well, for the most part, I think it was mostly blue, but a vast majority of them voting Conservative. You want to pull up the province, all blue.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, it's a little bit there. NDP and
in Edmonton, Strathcona was NDP, but not by a lot.
Yeah,
and then Edmonton Center was Liberal, but not by a lot.
So
and it's always the middle of the cities, right?
Yeah. Well,
and then Calgary Confederation again, 2,000, not even 2,000, 1,200 votes between Corey Hogan and Jeremy Nixon, and Jeremy Nixon was the incumbent. So he actually lost.
They lost a seat there.
How do you lose a seat in the Calgary Confederation?
Well, apparently they expanded the region to more liberal areas. So the idea is,
and they lost that seat. Conservatives lost that seat too. So the Conservatives lost 2 seats in Alberta.
Even though Alberta is, and as you scroll out, you can see that it's mostly blue. Even though the West is mostly blue, Alberta feels that the rest of Canada, through transfer payments, through not building pipelines, through all these things, is not heard or adhered to by the federal government. Mm-hmm. And as such, discussions of separation are being held, or at least used to negotiate. Whether it actually happens or not, they're hoping to get a better deal. And this is what's crazy. You go online and see the rest of the eastern provinces, people that live in Ontario and east of Ontario, couldn't give a rat.
You swore again.
Oh, I swear. I haven't.
I know, but I had to believe it 3 times.
All right.
But here's the thing, though.
No, let me finish my thought. It's they should just shut up, wave the red flag, and be happy that you live in a democracy. And we don't want to hear it. Screw off. That's exactly what I'm hearing from people that are on the other side.
Are you interviewing people from Ontario? Without me knowing?
It's the internet. I can read thousands of comments in a day. I don't want to, but I could.
So let's say Alberta. Well, Alberta got all their signatures in less than 24 hours.
Right.
To have a referendum.
Exactly. So you at least have the option to have a vote.
Yeah. So they got those signatures in less than 24 hours. And they increased it.
There wasn't a ton that they needed. They dropped the amount of signatures.
But they increased it from 15 days to 30 days.
Right.
To get the signatures.
Right.
They got them in less than 24 hours.
Right. But they again decreased the amount of signatures. I think it was like 61,000 they initially needed. They dropped it to like
No, I think it was like 170,000 they needed.
they dropped it. They dropped the amount that they needed. But either way, yes, they in a short period of time they got a lot of people to sign. So to have a referendum possibly in the future.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yep. So here's a question.
Yeah.
If Alberta was close to separating, would you move to Alberta?
I said this on a previous podcast. I don't think Alberta is going to separate.
If they were very close to separating,
Yes, I would consider it.
you would move to Alberta.
I would be lying if I said even before this election, I thought maybe that would be a nice change to move to Alberta.
Second question.
Yeah.
Do you think the cost of living in Alberta is going to go through the roof because of this?
Well, the cost of living in Alberta is.
I'm not talking
quite a
about
bit
cost
higher.
of living like in terms of like the cost of goods. I'm talking about the cost of living in terms of cost of housing.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. I'm saying you're paying 30% more for a house out there than Winnipeg.
Well,
Sure.
yeah, but you always have been.
Right.
But here's the thing: if there's a bigger demand,
Yeah.
in Calgary, let's say all of southern Manitoba and southern Saskatchewan is like, I think I'm moving to Calgary.
I'm already under the assumption that moving to Calgary means cost for everything goes up at least 30% for everything.
Now, okay, so that happens.
Yeah.
What dollar do they use?
If they separated,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So here's the other thing with that, right? If their dollar is a different dollar,
Yeah.
you got to figure out transferring their money from one kind of currency to another for any kind of investments that you have.
Yeah.
Or all their investments stay in Canadian dollars.
Right.
And any new money comes through whatever it is.
Yeah.
If Alberta, do you think they would become part of the states? Do you think Alberta would be the 51st state?
I think they, well, certainly in some ways, like a lot of people brought up some good points that if they build their own pipelines, and I don't know if the rest of Canada is going to want to be a partner with them in that because, PO that they'd actually separate, which again, I'm saying they're not going to separate. I don't think they will. But if they did, the only other partner they have is the United States.
Yeah.
So they're either joining a coalition with the rest of Canada or they're joining a coalition with the states. It's one of the two.
So let's say they became the 51st state. Yeah. And you move to Calgary.
And I think Saskatchewan and Alberta becomes a state together.
And you move to Calgary. Let's say you move to Calgary.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I'm moving to Calgary with X amount of dollars in my investments.
Yeah.
They're Canadian dollars because that's what I invested in.
Right.
And Calgary becomes part of the United States.
Yeah.
And now all of your investments get cut by 30%.
Yes.
Wait, no.
Keep my money in Canadian funds in Canada because my company's in Canada? In Manitoba?
Yes.
Okay.
But based on the value of where you live now,
right,
your money is now worth 30% less.
Yeah, but I'm also
because Americans can now move to Calgary without having to become a Canadian.
Yeah.
They can move to the mountains. Yeah. They can move to Edmonton. They can move to Calgary.
There's mountains in the United States too.
Yes, there is. But as an American, if you make $150,000 American right now, that's like making $200,000 Canadian.
Yeah. Well, more now, but yeah.
So, you as an American are making $150,000. I can go to Canada. Yeah. And I can buy a house.
You think all these Americans are going to start pouring into Alberta? I don't see it.
Money will. American money will.
And that's
investments.
That's probably
investments. Think about it this way.
That's good for, if that actually happens, good for Alberta, right?
No.
No, it's not good for Americans to be investing in Alberta companies.
It's not the companies; it's the real estate.
Well, they're going to invest in all of it. They're not just investing in real estate. They're going to invest in Canadian. Money is going to go in there in XYZ ways.
But you have to
not
think about the fact that if you're an American, your investments are worth 30% more than the Canadians' investments.
Right.
And if you want to buy housing, and you want to invest in housing, you can outbid everybody by more than 20% and still pay less money.
Right.
That's the tough part, right? Like So I think one of the things that Trump said, and I'm not pro like us becoming a 51st state. So elbows down, up, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I'm not whatever. But one of the things that Trump said is he would do dollar for dollar.
Right.
Now, whether he could or couldn't do that, he probably doesn't actually know.
Yeah.
But he said he would do dollar for dollar.
Right.
So your American money, our Canadian money, would all be
At par.
At par.
Right. Or so our dollar's worth more now.
If
Or par, yeah.
If Canada became the 51st state.
Right. Well, if it's a 51st state, of course the dollar is the same.
And do you make it the 51st state, or do you go 51, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
you know that
57
you know that you could make the dollar the same and not become the 51st state? It's a European Union, right? They're not this. They did not. The European Union.
Yeah, but some people aren't in it.
What's that?
Some people don't.
No, I'm just saying, and this is what I have a friend who's in the finance industry said, listen, I don't think, and he agrees with me, there's no way the Americans come over and take over Canada and make us our 51st state. It's possible, but I think it's unrealistic. It's not going to happen, but you could come up with some kind of union in which they're not part of your country, but you resolve that you have the dollar with one currency without making them part of your country. Yes. And that would be something I could see Trump doing. Trump doesn't even have, he only has a couple of years to do this. It's not going to happen. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. But the Liberals won the election because of it.
You know what the other thing is? Yeah, they did. You're right. The other thing is everybody has realized growing up, we knew that there was 52 states and now there's only 50.
We did?
Yeah.
I didn't.
When I was growing up, there was 52 states in the States. Yeah, and then the Mandela effect happened.
You're getting the Mandela effect.
If you ask people online, is there 52 states? There's people that remember it that way.
Yeah.
I got a different Mandela effect for you. Remember Lamb Chops Play Along?
Vaguely. It's just vaguely. Not enough.
Remember the song?
I can't play
This is the song that...
Oh, I do remember that. I do remember that.
Can you sing it for me?
This is the song that never... And by the way, I don't remember the show. I just heard other people renditions.
Sing the song that you
just
remember.
Goes on and on, my friend.
Start from the beginning.
This is a song that never ends.
Wrong. It's wrong.
Okay, I never.
That's not the song.
I'm not saying I know all the words.
Okay, sing it again.
From what I heard other people do. Again, I don't remember this because I don't remember the show.
Yeah.
This is the song that never ends. It just goes on and on, my friends. Some people started singing, not knowing what it was. That's all I know.
Keep going.
I don't remember the rest of it.
And they'll keep singing it forever just because.
Okay.
This is
the song that never ends.
Wrong.
Okay.
This is the song that doesn't end.
Okay. I didn't watch the show.
Doesn't matter. Everybody remembers it the way you do.
Everybody remembers it like I do.
This is the song that... What does it say? You can see it on the screen right now.
One.
This is the song that... What are all...
Never doesn't. Oh, fourth one is doesn't.
Okay. This is the song that never ends.
Sixth one is doesn't.
Never ends lyrics.
Two of them doesn't.
Never ends lamb chop. Never ends gif. Doesn't end. Never ends meme. Never ends TV show. Never ends.
So they not always. Not always. Not everyone.
But the song is called "This is the song that doesn't end." Look at it.
All right.
This is the song that doesn't end.
All right.
It goes on and on. Look at it. It keeps going on and on. It goes on and on, my friends.
And then some people started
singing it, not knowing what it was. So listening back at home, is it this is the song that never ends, or this is the song that doesn't end?
You just proved it doesn't.
It doesn't end.
Hey, look at the first one. Never. Go click out of there. No, click out, so you can see the screen. That's there. Oh, it does say never there. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was doesn't. I remember it doesn't, but
you don't. You said never.
But it's never. I guess.
No, it's
the opposite
doesn't.
Mandela effect.
The song is doesn't.
All right.
This is the song that doesn't end.
I'm not vehemently arguing for one.
I know.
Obviously, when people start misremembering, it affects other people misremembering it.
I watched the show growing up.
I didn't.
This is the song that never ends.
2008 wasn't even that old.
No, that's not the original.
Okay.
Lamb chops play along. Look at. Anyway, I think that's enough sports and political talk for one day.
For like the year.
For the year.
Yeah. 2
questions from this episode.
Do you blame Greg for not voting for the Conservative leadership? And Lorraine? Number 1, is that an unforgivable
which he
sin?
won. He won already.
Yeah. Well, you're not even saying who you voted for.
That's right.
But you kind of clued in people
2,
out there. 2?
Should Shan have been suspended for his hit?
Yeah.
3, will Alberta separate?
Sure.
4, should Tim buy an Oura ring?
Well,
and number 5.
No, listen, how about this? A lot of times when popular shows talk about things, people give them things. So if anyone out there would like to show me that an Oura ring, by the way, because I called it a gimmick, right? So if anyone wants to
Who called it a gimmick?
I did. I called it a complete gimmick, remember? Yes, I did. I bashed the Oura ring. You don't remember the episode we talked about?
You know who should sponsor this podcast?
What?
Oura ring.
Yeah.
This episode brought to you by Oura ring. Get your 10% off today with Tim. Code Tim's cheap.
Tim, and it's Tim is, not Tim's apostrophe.
No.
Tim is.
No, that's a Mandela effect. It's Tim's cheap.
Tim is the code.
TIMS cheap. Tim's cheap.
Okay.
Like Tim Hortons.
It's on the bottom of the screen.
You know what's funny? When people call it Tim's, you know when people call Tim Hortons Tim's?
Yeah.
They call it TIMS. Like they'll write a TIMS.
Yeah.
It's not it's not a plural of stores that you're going to. You're not going to multiple Tim Hortons.
A nickname. I'm going to Tim's. I'm going to McDick's. No, it's not called McDick's anywhere.
But it's we all call it. Yes.
It's not an actual name. So
we're going to Tim's.
Yeah.
It's apostrophe S.
Right. But that's not its actual name. It's just a nickname. So it's not actually technically.
At the end of Tim Hortons,
doesn't matter. The grammatical spelling of McDick's doesn't matter because it's not called McDick's. We just call it that.
You call it that.
Lots of people call it McDick's. Everybody calls it McDick's.
And Tim Hortons, it doesn't have an apostrophe either. And his name was Tim Horton.
That was his name.
So shouldn't Tim Hortons have an apostrophe S?
I guess so. Yes, you're right. You're right, Greg.
Because it's his restaurant, right?
Yeah, you're right. Grammatically, Tim Hortons is in neglect of
an apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
I wonder what the old Tim Hortons logo did it like the original one.
Remember when Robbins and Tim Hortons were like equal
fighting
in the 80s and 90s, where they were equal, kind of both good, the same, pretty much exactly equal as far as their quality and as far as how many stores they had.
Robbins was better.
One went.
Robbins was better. Did you know?
Down.
Do you want to know why Robbins was better?
No. Oh, because they had the apostrophe S?
No, but they did, I think. I'll double check in a second. They were better because they made their donuts in-house, fresh.
Yeah, that's right.
And Tim Hortons were like frozen donuts that they brought in. But did you know that it was originally Tim Horton donuts?
Tim Horton donuts? Probably.
That's the logo. It's right there. Oh, you can't.
Disney Plus?
You can't see it.
Disney Plus.
I was waiting for you to comment.
No. There we go. History. You've now learned something new from the Greg and Tim show.
It used to be called Tim Horton Donuts.
Yeah. There you go. I didn't know that. And now it's Tim Hortons without the apostrophe.
How come I can't look up Robbins Donuts? Robbins Donuts is apostrophe S.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway.
Because there's no last name.
When you were growing up, did you prefer Tim's or Robbins?
Now you're talking to our older generation. Anyone above the age of, under the age of 25 probably doesn't really remember Robbins.
There was a Robbins Donuts at City Place for a while there.
Yeah, but
I think there's still one left in the city.
My kids probably don't really remember Robbins Donuts in that way. Like they might have gone there, but they won't remember it like they Tim.
So like, if you're older like me and Tim, and if you're really old like Tim, do you remember smoking in Tim Hortons? Not you personally,
that would happen
but do you remember that there was smoking?
No, they might have remembered smoking in
Robbins.
Tim Hortons.
Like I remember going into Robbins Donuts with my parents on the way home from the city because we'd go there on the way home from the city. on the way to Stonewall, and you go in, and it was just like 10 old men sitting around drinking coffee, smoking cigarettes.
They had the same 10 old men, but none of them are smoking anymore.
None of them smoke.
Yeah.
I remember how mad they were that they couldn't smoke anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when the news was like, where am I going to smoke now if I can't smoke inside at the Robins?
Oh, yeah. That's a good voice you're doing.
I can't smoke inside of the Robins. Where am I going to go smoke?
Wow, that got at the end. It was like an Italian East Coaster from Italian Newfoundlander.
Should we play your commercial?
If you want.
Nah.
Okay.
Anyways, don't forget to call Sandman Painting at
996-452 beep 4526. Okay, I guess we can.
Yeah, you want people to call you, right?
I guess so.
I guess so. Call Tim. It'd be really funny if you're in the UK and you want him to paint your house and you call him up because you watch. That's awesome. That's his number, 204-956-45.
You didn't even know my number. You got it wrong already. That's all right.
456?
You got something else wrong. That's all right.
Anyway. Either way, it's scrolling across the bottom here, so...
Have a good week.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Thanks for watching The Greg and Tim Show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
All of those things and more.
And more.
Have a great week.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.